Hi everyone, I'm Taran, and this is part 2 of my little guide to 6 signs. And I've promised that we might look at amplitude modulation. I kind of love this stuff now. I haven't played much with any of that before, but it does some really magical stuff. And first of all, here in the beginning, I had supermassive on because it sounds fun. Well, but we don't need this anymore, and instead I'm going to reveal to you that I'm using the free version of Scope. That's a nice little oscilloscope that keeps the signal very stable. So we have a nice way of looking at the waveform. The other two oscilloscopes I have are also very good, but they sometimes they bounce around a bit. This one I like, and it looks nice. It's snazzy. Anyhow, so now let's start with doing amplitude modulation. And for that, I'm going to leave the first operator as it is, and we're going to add a second operator. And this one is going to be our modulator, and a third one, which is going to be the carrier signal. I'm not going to turn this up, but the second one I turn up. Oh, maybe I do the other way. No, I'm going to turn the third one up. And this one is going to be on a higher octave. Actually, let's put it to the third octave at 8 times the signal. And there you can hear it. Maybe I make everything a little bit more quiet here, so I might be able to talk over that. Okay, so that's a carrier, and our modulator is going to be the second operator. And for that, I'm going to pick a different wave. And that is, for example, like wave number 3. You know, I've already told you in the first video that to me, those waveforms down here, they are for amplitude modulation. They might also be good for phase modulation, I'm sure, but to me, that's a brilliant way of modulating the amplitude. So this is our modulating signal, and that's going to be in operator number 2. And operator number 3 is our carrier. That's that high frequency here. And what we're going to do is we turn that amplitude modulation here. We turn that on for operator 2. So operator 2 amplitude modulates operator 3. And that sounds like that. And you can hear what happens already, right? So wherever that is on 0, none of operator 3 comes through. Only as it ramps up, we can see the higher frequency waveforms. Sounds totally ridiculous, but doesn't it remind you of something? Nope, not some funny kids TV show. I mean resonance. It kind of sounds like resonance, doesn't it? Yes, so it adds a different kind of timbre to the tone. And when we pick different waveforms, I'm going to keep this cranked up. For example, TX4. Then you see it starts at it masks it a little bit differently. And the same with the others that do even more complicated stuff. What's that? I always look at that as hand signals. This is going to get me in trouble. All right. It's probably even worse. It's the bad signal. But let's keep this under controlled circumstances, and we go back to TX3. I like that because it really kind of masks half of the window, of the wave window. If I were to move this to the other side, like so, then it would mask the other half. See? Okay, so there's that. Great stuff. And the other cool thing we can do now, and that's really what makes it so exciting to me, is you can alter the frequency of our carrier signal. and do so just ever so slightly, and then something really nice happens. It's on 8 right now. I'm going to put it to 8.001. And now you can see how it basically walks through the wave window. And it adds this subtle motion. The smaller I go, the slower it moves. But another thing you might notice is if I play higher notes, it moves relatively faster. Oh yeah, let me turn down the first operator so we only hear that. And there you can actually see that it is, see and hear that it is faster. Right? And to compensate for that, we can go into operator 3 ratio and we go into modulation. And there we're going to pick voice, key track from 60. And then we target our ratio. And now when I change that value here of the modulation, it will alter the frequency based on what note we play. And with C4 in the center, which apparently is 60, if I were to dial this around, you wouldn't hear any difference. See, nothing's happening. But the moment I go above or below C4, it will start to kick in. Okay, but we only want a very little change because we want to keep the general frequency. We just want to ever so slightly diminish that speed. And so to do so, you could try to use the mouse with holding down Shift, or you go right-click on the dial and we change this value. Now we went above the multiplier, of the straight multiplier, 8.01 I think we chose. And we chose, I did it for you. Okay, so we went above that, and so we want to go negative, so closer to 0 as we go higher in the keys to make it slower. So let's just go by minus 0.1 or minus 0.1%. And I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna go in there and make a few adjustments while this plays to see what it's doing to the speed as I play C5. Okay, so I'm gonna go in there and say minus 0.2. That's a lot faster. Minus 0.05. Ah. See how much slower that is? So, but it is a lot slower, so that scares me a little bit. But overall, it just sounds a lot more calm, more controlled. But there is motion in there. Okay, so there's that. Now the other fun thing we can do is we can alter the other half of that as well. So for that, we're going to use the next set of operators, 4 and 5, and we basically do the same thing. Let's say number 4 is our modulator, and it's going to get TX, what did we choose, 3 or 4? I don't even know. 3, okay. So 3 for the carry, for the modulation signal, and for 5, we're going to go to a different octave. Here we went to the third one with 8. Oh, small offset. And now we're going to go here to maybe something lower. Why not? Let's go to 4. So it's just 2 octaves higher. And let's crank this up. And we're going to use amplitude modulation of operator 4. So operator 4 modulates our operator 5. But you can see this is also only happening on the same spot. So what we're going to do is we go to operator 4 and we offset the phase of our modulation signal. And now it's on the other half of the window, of the wave window. And check out what happens. See, it's just on the bottom. All right, and we can also give this one a bit of a motion, but let's go the other way. Instead of more than 4, go beneath it, so 3.99, for example. And let's just look at that. That one literally works. So, and we do the same thing too with the ratio. Go to modulation, say voice, key track from 60, and target the ratio. But now we want to go positive. So I'm gonna play this and adjust the value. Oh, you see, I went a little far. It then turned around, so we don't want that. Let's just go by 0.12. Okay, that's good. There we have it. And now we can have a little bit of fun with our envelopes on these things. Because we really just want to use the pure sort of resonance it represents, we're really going to leave operator 2 and 4 alone. Those are our modulation operators. And we're just going to fade in and out the carriers. So for that, I'm just going to raise the levels up to what we want as a maximum. Oh, like so. And then I'm going to add, let's say, an attack. And we make it this time fade in more slowly. So I go to the right with our curve modifier here. All right. And it even says attack shape. Yes. Anyhow, so yeah. So this one just fades in operator 3. Maybe we want to also let it fade out a little bit, but not all the way, or all the way, I don't know. But for that one, we do a softer fade out. Oh, it gives a bit of motion. And for our fifth one, we're going to do also some envelopes, and we're also going to make this fade up, soft. But let's offset the timing and give it a bit of a delay here. Like, let's see. Okay, that's cool. And let's do a little bit of an amplitude envelope, give it a bit of a release, because this is kind of like this pet-like sound. Our operator 1 is a little boring, and if this is supposed to simulate resonance, maybe we want a bit of sharpness for operator 1, so we can use its feedback. And let's see what happens when I raise this up. Sounds kind of natural, I think. And we're gonna give this also then a bit of an attack. Yeah. Maybe this should come a little faster. That's what she said. Yeah, so they are sort of synced. All right, maybe a little bit of a faster fade out in the release time. Makes it a bit more roomy, I find. And then we could give the whole thing, if we wanted to, an unisono. And let's see what this does just to that simple sound. Yes, and eventually this all sounds a bit more like what you've heard in the opening to all of this. Anyhow, I think this is enough to give you an idea of what you can do with amplitude modulation. I absolutely love it because it gives you a very controlled access. And you can play around with the shapes of the modulating waves, and of course with whatever you want to do with the carriers. You may also create a more complex carrier and then, modulate that with your modulation wave. The sky is the limit. So alone with amplitude modulation, you can already go extremely far with 6 signs to get very, very nice sounds. But there is also phase modulation. And if you want me to, then I'll actually even go as far as doing a third part on phase modulation. Well, I hope that gave you enough of a clue, and see you soon then. Bye.